Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to the Innervated, a podcast about Hearthstone. This is episode number 2, which is great. It means we weren't cancelled after the pilot, so have the pleasure of listening to us every Monday. Maybe if we make a couple of bad jokes per episode, we'll last as long as 2.5 men or something. I'm your host, Radoslav Nitrokolev, editor-in-chief for GhostToGamers.net, and I'm joined today, as usual, by three wonderful people. First of all, we have Skim, who has been casting a lot of Dota lately and not really much playing Hearthstone. So what's up with this, man?
Dude, I still play Hearthstone, but climbing ladder is a real challenge these days. So I'm just playing some arena here and there.
Oh, what's the challenge with ladder, man? Come on, I play freeze mage and I crush everybody now.
I'm still not over. I'm still struggling with Hunter. I even created a few just anti-Hunter decks, but as soon as I play these decks, I just face, I don't know, Druid. So I think Blizzard doesn't like me.
Yeah, I can understand. Next on, we have our resident American freedom fighter, the one and only the Chiv. So how many people did you liberate from Tyranny of Cancer decks last week?
From the Tyranny of Cancer decks?
Yeah.
Maybe 4, considering they were all applauding me for not playing Hunter for once. Though I may have to go back because apparently Freeze Mage is getting a little out of hand, and, well, Flare and Kazan Mystic just have, such an advantage in that. Not to mention I faced 12 of them today, alone. Thanks, NetDeck.
And finally, we have my dear colleague at GhostGamers.net, Nomlix, who is the coverage overlord of the section, basically makes sure that all the match tickers, all the rankings, all the player profiles are as much up to date as possible. So he watches like a ton of Hearthstone. And you're actually subbing in for Stotex here, who we couldn't find at all for some reason. I'm not sure if he's dead in a ditch somewhere or just doesn't like us anymore. But how are you doing today, Nomlix?
Well, I'm great. I'm happy to be here, subbing in for him after he did not show up for some reason. But yeah, it will be great.
So we'll start the news show with just a very short news roundup. We have a couple of news that some of them just happened. Some of them were announced a few days ago. First and foremost, we have Show moving from Complexity to Liquid. It's a great pick for Liquid. They've been trying to expand for some time now, since 2014 even. They were trying to sign people like Orange, reportedly, and finally they get their third player next to Neri and Saviz, and it does feel like he's a good pick for them. Like, I think he fits the Team Liquid profile of just a popular streamer and in general nice guy. So finally the Liquid roster is up to 3 people. We'll probably see them more of them in tournaments. Next on, we have Tiddler Celestial, the BlizzCon runner-up, actually forming his own team. He had signed several very strong players, including Silent Storm, the guy who won the Legendary Series Season 1 finals, and Frozen Ice, who is one of the strongest Taiwanese players. There's also a few like up-and-comers and not really no names in Ding and Yaviz. Yaviz actually apparently some really good Chinese female Hearthstone streamer and player. So I'm curious to see how this will go. And the team will be managed by Skim's disappearing camera. Oh no, here's back again. So the team will be managed by Sin, who is actually the guy responsible for the NEL, the Chinese Team League operations. Finally, we have the WCA North American qualifiers happening, I think, even right now or in a few hours. They will feature a 13,000 prize pool. Several players, big names are invited, including Amaz, Reynad, Storm, Dog, Chucky, Firebat, all the good names from the North American scene, you could say. There are some weird picks, like we've seen Teray, that haven't really been active since he was at BlizzCon, but this kind of speaks of the not really big depth of the North American scene. I still think there are other players that deserve the invite more. I think some of the Heartlytics guys should have definitely been there in the invites list, and not guys like Teray, but that's just me. So the Chinese qualifiers actually are already on the way. They're featuring 23,000 Chinese prize pool. We don't really know much about the WCA Grand Finals yet. We just know it's going to be 28 players. It's going to be somewhere in December. And if last year's event was some indication, they had 200,000 prize pool, so this was massive. If they go anywhere near this year, then it's going to be great. What is not great is the format of actually the WCS NA qualifiers that we just mentioned. They're playing in a single elimination bracket, which is downright retarded. So I'm really, confused why these guys can't really set up a, proper preliminary stage. But I guess that's how things are.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Do you know if the WCA prize pool last year was paid out to the to the players?
Yeah, they had a lot of delays, and some of them was I think some bank issues. A lot of them was WCA not following up on time, but I know the other reasons were actually the players who won money didn't submit proper invoices and whatnot. So it took them some time to pay out the prize pool. I think the same happened with WEC prize money with Tides of Time. So you kind of understand that payment of prizes from China to Western bank accounts can take some time. Obviously, it shouldn't take like 2 months or whatever, but I think ultimately everybody got their prize money. But without further ado, let's move to the actual important and bigger topics that we're going to be discussing today. There will be 4 topics we're going to get through if Skim survives. And topic number 1 is the recent pro player bans that happened in Hearthstone in the last 2 weeks. So for those of you who haven't been following the news, Alchemix from Complexity and Nyman from Dignitas were perma-banned, at least their main accounts, from Hearthstone. So Alchemist chose to retire, even though Complexity showed their support and decided to keep him on the roster. Nyman kind of disappeared for a couple of days, but he's now back on the ladder, trying to get back to recover his points, because all of his points will be deleted. He told me that himself. He also told me that the main reason he's back, grinding the ladder, is because his girlfriend was super supportive apparently, and she was the only reason why he's back doing the whole Hearthstone thing. Like he was considering, not coming back to Hearthstone. And you kind of understand it when you spend like 2 or 3 seasons, grinding to #1 legend, and then you get permabanned and all your points taken away. It can be quite disheartening. But the issue I have personally with these statements, with these cases, it's not the situation itself, but we don't know why the players are banned. At least nothing has been said officially. Like, both players have told me why they're banned, but I cannot really disclose it because it's off the record. But nothing has come from Blizzard as an official statement. The organizations also weren't informed officially from Blizzard, so what Dignitas and Complexity ultimately learned came from the players who communicated the reason. So the big question here is, shouldn't Blizzard be more transparent when they're banning people and pro players specifically? Maybe do it like Riot Gaming does. For example, Riot Gaming, when they ban a player, they say, oh, he's been toxic, or he's been racist, or whatnot. Nothing has been said from Blizzard. Even when they banned Specialist and Gabe Walls for win trading back in the day, they didn't really mention their names. So I guess time for me to include you guys in this conversation and hear your take on this. Jeff, let's start with you just randomly. What do you think?
Transparency sounds like this great noble thing, and everybody feels like they have the right for this information. However, I look back at all the little incidents that have happened just in the Hearthstone scene alone. The Magic Amy thing, Hosty, and there's so much anger. I mean, people are waiting for the next little shoe to drop just so they could go on a massive Reddit witch hunt and just like trash people left and right. And people got threatened. People got, attacked. So Blizzard, they're not going to be putting that out there. They're not condoning this, and they're not going to put this kind of information out there to kind of fuel that. He's banned, boom, that's fine. In all honesty, unless the teams or the players told us that they were banned, we would have never known. And that's kind of God's honest truth there. So I don't think there really is a need for transparency. And Blizzard makes a decision. They're the ones who own the game. So at the end of the day, they have the final call on everything.
So ultimately, you're saying that keeping the reason for the banning is kind of, uh, trying not to taint permanently players' records if they decide to return to Hearthstone ultimately, because Naiman is now back in Hearthstone, and let's say if Blizzard said, oh, he was banned for win trading, just as an example, I'm not saying this is the reason. Uh, Maybe this puts a permanent black dot on his record, and people like, oh, he's the win trader. This is why he gets top one legend or whatever.
Trust me, there were a lot of people who did win trading in the early part of the season, like season one, who never got caught for that. But that's besides the point. But no, I think they took away his account. He came back with another account, and my hat's off to him.
He's already a legend, by the way.
Yeah, he's already back to legend. Okay, so he's going to still probably compete. He's still probably going to go to all these open qualifier events, and he's probably going to make it into a lot of them. All right, he's actually got the strength to do this, so I applaud him on it. I really do. And if he can come back from such a negative thing and become like a really strong player and a really dominant teams, no matter what happened in the past, are probably still going to be approaching him. So good luck to him. I really hope to see he turns this around. I love that redemption story. It's always fun.
Skim, how about you? Do you agree with this notion?
I'm not sure if that was the main reason why Blizzard did this. I think part of the reason could possibly be because these are obviously not going to be, or I guess these are not going to be the last bans directed towards pro players. Maybe they're just not, publishing the reasons because they want to keep banning people and not want to give people a reason to, or people a chance to sort of dodge this sort of thing. That's why also when there's like bots being banned, you don't really do it too publicly, but you just do it slowly and bam, bots banned because we have this algorithm that suddenly can track this and this. And then they do another big wave because they suddenly have a new algorithm that bans this and notices this and this sort of stuff. I don't know. I think that's part of the reason. I'm not too sure if they really care too much about, in this case, Nyman and Alchemix and their reputation too much. But I kind of think it's sad that they don't say why, because right now we're just, puzzled and just guessing and just... I mean, everybody's, or not everybody, but people were discussing and just theorizing about what happened. And I think that's actually worse than just saying what happened, to be honest, because now people just assume that this and this must have happened, because otherwise there's no reason he could have otherwise been banned. So people just assume that, I don't know, Alchemix has been part of win trading or whatever. So I think it's kind of sad there. I think this is actually worse. Like if Blizzard's reason for not disclosing the information or not disclosing the reasoning is to protect these people from being, from tainting their reputation, then I think this is actually worse, because now people are just assuming stuff.
Alex, what do you think?
Like, I feel the point that Blizzard doesn't need to reveal the stuff is kind of good, because it's only the players' account who are banned. They're like not banned from ever participating in a BlizzCon event or something like that. Like, if you compare it to, as you brought up already, Riot, those people are banned from participating in the LCS and stuff. So that's like the difference there. They are banned from participating in the big competition, which these people aren't. Only the accounts got banned, and they can play themselves up there again and compete again. But like, that's one of the big difference why Blizzard doesn't need to be that transparent, because those people can just play a new account and get up there again.
Yeah, but still they take away, for example, for Nyman, they took away all his points. And I also asked Blizzard this, and I'm still to get an answer. Let's say what happens if you have 200 points, right? And some of them you got on ladder, right, finishing first or whatever, but the other 100 you got from tournaments, playing on other accounts or whatever. So if it's only the account that's punished and not the player, what happens to these 100 points that are not that they're not awarded from ladder? but just going to participate in tournaments. And in tournaments, you cannot really, win trade or bot or boost or whatever. So I think that this is also an issue. Like, we don't know what is happening to these points, because there already are people. Of course, there will be whose points are coming from different places. So what's happening?
Yeah, like the points they lost are, of course, the ladder points. If it's win trading or something similar, those are not points they really earned.
Yeah.
But the tournament points are the ones they didn't cheat to get them or anything like that. But still, I feel like if they start removing the points, it feels like if they remove all of them, it's kind of the same. Like, it doesn't make that much of a difference, even though it is the tournament wins. But like, that's more of a punishment for someone already starting to cheat to get those points. Like, removing them all is just something that feels kind of right to punish them a bit more.
Yeah. The Twitch chat is saying that the players could disclose the reason themselves, and it's a good point. Like, I'm actually surprised that neither Alchemix nor Neyman came forward with a statement about the reason, because I think, like, if you're not being banned because you're an asshole, let's say you're win trading or whatever, because I think this is kind of the worst reason for account ban, right? So you're basically manipulating the ladder. So if it's not that, if it's like maybe like an innocent account sharing, because this happens a lot, like maybe some of your like you play multiple games and you lend your accounts to friends to try Heroes of the Storm or whatever. So it's not really cheating. I mean, it's still against the terms of service, but in terms of competitive Hearthstone, it's not really the same. So I don't know why the guys have chosen to keep this off the record, but I firmly believe that if it's not a me being an asshole this reason, they should actually come forward and say, okay, I shared an account once and it was stupid for me, so but I got banned, so this is kind of unfair. What do you guys think?
I think there's a problem with that. I mean, if it's something like sharing an account, which is a very common thing, all right? Because in the beginning, like people centered their main account in the region that they played in, but they also wanted to play in, say, like if you were in the EU, you wanted to play in an NA tournament. That happens all the time. Well, are you going to invest the same amount of money invested in the EU for an NA account? That's going to be a little bit of, cha-ching. So you have a friend who's in the NA. Hey, can I use your account for this tournament? Sure, okay. It seems completely benign, right? It does. It seems completely benign, but it is a violation in terms of service. And what ends up happening here is like, well, yeah, I won this tournament, but technically it was a cheat because I had to use this. And that kind of diminishes like any achievement they get in that. And I don't really like that idea there. I honestly think if they came forward, it's like, yeah, well, I was sharing an account, there would be kind of like a lot of backlash on Blizzard. And I don't think Blizzard really wants that to happen.
Yeah, I guess not. So Skim said that it's almost worse that people are speculating what the reason is. So I don't really want to go this way, but I kind of have to. So what do you guys think the reason are? Is it win trading? Is it like account boosting for other people? Is it botting? I don't think it's botting, because you can't really afford to bot on High Legend. But win trading and boosting and account sharing are actually very common, as you said, Shiv. It happens a lot. I expect actually many more people to be banned for this, for either of these situations. So, Skim, let's hear your theory. Like, what do you think the reason is for Alchemist and Nyman?
I don't think account sharing is an issue, because I think Blizzard has to realize that it's just part of as Shiv said, it's just part of the system right now, because you can't really participate in other regions unless you have the specific, unless you have a regional account. So I don't think that's the issue. I think, my bet is, or my money would be on probably something like account boosting or something like that. Or like, it has to be it, or at least from my perspective.
Chiv, Nomlix?
Yeah, I feel like boosting or win trading are the most likely things because both of them are high legend players. Botting wouldn't be worth anything for them, and so those are the stuff like boosting, some potential way they could earn more money other than tournament wins and stuff, and win trading just because ladder matters now with the BlizzCon points coming in. That would be a way people would get their points. And for account sharing, I really doubt that Blizzard is banning people in the Hearthstone section for this, but they already did some awkward stuff in like WoW, where some former WoW pros were just randomly banned for account sharing, which is like, for example, Rekful, and like they did random stuff like that. That's just it could also happen from Blizzard side.
Okay, Chiv, what about your take,
Um,
buddy?
Most likely it was the win trading, to be honest. Though there is something for boosting as well, because there are players out there who are legendary players that will actually charge money to boost somebody so they can get to legend. So I've seen it out there. They actually advertise this on certain websites and certain
Yeah,
subreddits, and it's kind of disgusting. It really kind of pisses me off, but it happens. And there's you can't catch them all, but you're gonna eventually catch some.
it was happening a lot in League of Legends. I don't know if this is still the case, but I clearly remember bans for League of Legends. People boosting other accounts. Get you to higher ranks, and I mean, it's going to happen with every game that has a ranking system, and people who are not really good in the game, they will pay other people to just boost them up and just raise their e-pinners or whatever. I mean, this will happen. It's not really a surprise here. So we can only hope that this will not repeat again, but it will. Anyways, moving. Yeah, I'm not sure why I still have the news roundup topic because it's not really news roundup anymore for like 30 minutes. But moving on to more pleasant topics, and I will just change it now for people to see. It's DreamHack Summer's ballsy announcement. DreamHack just announced a $40,000 championship. I mean, summer event for June 13 to 15, and it's all open, no invites. I mean, they will reserve some spots for overseas teams who have to travel and arrange, flights and accommodations and whatnot. But it's completely open, and it has a Swiss format, right? So this is the first time somebody has ever done this in the history of Hearthstone. It's one of the most daring moves and one of the most bold and positive ones I've actually seen in a long while. Um, so let's start with the question: why couldn't have it been done earlier? Why didn't we see completely open events in 2014 and only like in June 2015, like what's 2 years after Hearthstone competitive scene or whatever, are we seeing open tournaments? Let's start with you, Skim, because you're like the esports veteran. Let's hear from you.
Why couldn't it have been done earlier? That's a good question. I think it couldn't have been done earlier because Hearthstone was in a very early stage. It was still very young and developing, and I think no tournament could have survived without having at least the top figures, like very popular people like Amaz, like Strifegro, like Colento in their lineup. But I think now we've reached a point where people recognize that there's lots of talent that is not popular on Twitch. Like, I mean, the past tournaments, like we had Orange coming in, winning 2 tournaments. We had I can't really pronounce his name.
Hoi, yep.
Hoy coming in, winning a tournament for himself as well. So I think people have now realized that Hearthstone can't to be the best in Hearthstone doesn't mean to be popular, and I think it's a cool move by DreamHack. Honestly, I think they recognize that guess what? Hearthstone is so booming. Everybody loves to play Hearthstone. Everybody can play Hearthstone. So why not have in a full open qualifier tournament that people can just everybody can make it basically. And I think that's the beauty of Hearthstone because everybody can play Hearthstone. Everybody could technically qualify. So I think that's a cool move. And I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but They could technically also stream the qualifiers, which would also be really cool, and it would put a lot of emphasis on the qualifiers as well, because you would see your popular players such as Amaz, such as Kalento, Strifecrow, Gahara, I don't know. You would see all these people trying to compete at the qualifiers as well, which you wouldn't have prior to that. So I think it's a cool move.
I imagine they will stream the Swiss phase. Like I don't imagine they will go for 2 days without creating any content, right? And just have the 8 players like on the 15 just competing. I think if they do this, this would be stupid, and this would be like a bad move from towards an otherwise great idea. But okay, so you said that organizers starting to understand the beauty of open qualifiers and starting to see where the good players actually reside. Isn't it still a risk though that DreamHack doesn't offer any invites whatsoever? And because they said it will be like first come first served. So what happens if 128 players, which are lesser known, let's say, I don't want to call bad or something, but let's say green, whatever, they come and take like 60 of the spots or 100 of the spots, and then we only get like 10 players or something that are famous. And what happens in this kind of like hypothetical situation where the player pool is not really esteemed?
I mean, sure, the risk is there, and I'm very sure, I'm very certain that they're aware of that. But at the same time, let's say you do get 100 faceless or unknown people in your qualifier. If they still deliver good Hearthstone, you're still going to get the poll. You're still going to get the view numbers. I mean, I personally didn't expect, for example, the House Cup, the finals, the Via Game House Cup, the finals to be so popular. So, like, there were so many people tuning in still, considering, or even though there were people in the finals that weren't actually that famous or popular. And I think if DreamHack, by doing this, DreamHack basically could be the tournament that creates the next Amaz, that creates the next Orange, that creates the next Hoi, that creates the next player that's going to be a face that could potentially be at BlizzCon. And when people see him at BlizzCon, they're going to say, "Hey, this guy, he pulled through in that DreamHack tournament."
Yeah.
You know, so I think sure it's a risk, but at the same time, I think the reward could potentially be great as well. So I think it's a risk worth taking.
I think it also establishes DreamHack as a the Circuit 2 watch. I mean, it already was in 2014 because they put an insane amount of offline content, more than anybody else, actually. But in 2015, if they managed to pull this 40,128 players Swiss tournament with no invites, and if they manage to make a good production of it, that's very strong statement coming from DreamHack. What do you guys think about the Chiev and Nomlix about this move, like going away with invites, having it fully open, etc., etc.?
Well, there's. Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
I'll let you go.
Well, there's definitely a ballsy move from them, just because, as you already said, it might happen that there is really no one known, and that's the potential of nobody tuning in. But maybe for some, that's even a reason to tune in, because to see new faces come ahead of this big tournament and the Swiss format, like to gather the Swiss format as a new part of Hearthstone, which other tournaments never really had, and putting this together with the totally open tournament is like a good move of them, because many people will only tune in because it is a Swiss tournament. Like,
yeah,
it's not a single elimination, and you will, after one round of unlucky Hearthstone, of bad RNGs and stuff, you just fall out of it. That's most likely not gonna happen there. So, like, with combining those two things, they kind of make it better that there's like the potential of nobody tuning in because there are no big names is kind of equaled out by them also playing a Swiss tournament, which is completely new.
Chew?
A couple things here. First of all, this is not the first time Swiss has been done in Hearthstone.
Come on.
Before the client was out, we were doing Swiss. Come on.
No,
now.
I mean in offline tournaments. You know what I mean.
Oh yeah, I know.
I mean,
But-
Prismata Cup also did Swiss, so I know it's not the first
Yes,
time.
they did.
Yeah.
But now Swiss is a very interesting thing here. But I think what they're going to have a slight problem here is like, who do you show in the stream? All right, if you want to focus on like, let's say Reynad's in there, let's say Calento or any of these top name people in there. If they lose their first match, well, they're already going to be down
Yep.
in that Swiss bracket. So are you going to focus a stream on somebody who's already dropped one, or are you going to go with the people who are still undefeated? So from a production value and, for viewership and all that, it gets a little crazy. It really does. And let's not forget, these events have sponsors. Sponsors want, results. So I think it's a ballsy move, but at the same time, this is something that the community has been wanting.
Yeah.
All right. Even last year, I saw so many comments. Oh, look, another cherry pick tournament. Who are why are these guys always the ones getting the spotlight? Why don't you guys actually have opens? And this was said quite a bit. So I'm glad to see DreamHack doing this. And if they play this right from a pure PR standpoint, they could sell this something fierce. Like, who will be the next great legendary player to emerge from DreamHack? They can build it up. And, I know I talk a lot about narratives when it comes to a tournament, because they really are a narrative. There's so many individual stories within a tournament, and it starts from before the tournament and to the end of it. So they can actually set that up very nicely and pretty much run with it and make bank.
Yeah, it's you guys kind of transitioning into the next subtopics I want to discuss. It's the Swiss, because that's the big thing here, right? The first time someone has ever tried it in an offline tournament. We already mentioned it. So there will also be one thing about Swiss tournament that we've seen hundreds of times in, let's say, Magic tournaments, and you as an organizer have seen this as well. Big downtime between games and between rounds, because you have to wait for everybody to finish. So let's say you hop into Renat versus Dennis or whatever, and then Renat trios with Cancer decks or whatever. The game is over in 15 minutes. So what do you do for the other 45 minutes? Do you just jump into another match that's like midway, or try to find some content to fill the gaps? Do you think this will be an actual problem, or DreamHack have already figured it out, do you think?
I don't think it's really going to be much of a problem. I mean, they could always jump to another tournament, or not another tournament, another match, as you suggested. But they're also going to have commentators there. They can always go back to look at those plays, and they can stretch for time. Not to mention there's commercials, and they can do interviews. So there's a lot of time that they can make up with what I like to call fluff. Or they could just go to another match. And really, I think going to another match would be a better way of keeping the people interested. And I think that's probably like the big takeaway on that. They should probably just go to another match. It'll save them so much headache.
So DreamHack guys, if you're listening and you haven't figured it out yet, take notes. Chiv has watched a lot of Magic the Gathering tournaments, so I wanted to direct another question to you. So obviously
I ran them.
Watched random. So Magic the Gathering runs Swiss as basically a standard for big events, Pro Tours, GPs. Even the small tournaments like Friday Night Magic, they also run Swiss. It's basically the go-to format for established card games like Magic the Gathering. So, but speaking of big tournaments like the Pro Tours, the Grand Prix, I watched a lot of them as well. Probably not as you guys, but comparing the Magic the Gathering production, because they have been really active in the last years, and comparing to Hearthstone, what kind of production practices should DreamHack copy, if you want, from Magic the Gathering tournaments? Because we've seen a lot of, as you said, interviews and switching to another match, but we've also seen panels like Deck Tech and very let's say strategy oriented talks with the pros, whether they analyze decks, they analyze their opponents, what have you. Chiv, again, I'm just directing to you because I think you've watched more and run more Magic the Gathering tournaments than anybody else. So
Yeah.
yeah, if let's say if DreamHack wanna kick ass production on day one, like from the first try, I think that they should actually keep an eye on Magic the Gathering tournaments because they are, they kind of found the way that works to cover, like they have hundreds, more, even thousands players in Swiss format sometimes.
Yeah, they really do. They really should be taking notes from them. But at the same time, really, when it comes to like those little elements that they had in there, you're going to have to try. It's going to be a trial and error experiment here because you're trying to copy things from one game over to another game that generally does not fit overly too well. All right. I mean, because in deck text for Magic, there was land management and things of that nature that you covered in there. Where here, not so much. In Magic, you talked greatly about board states. Here, you don't generally hear that much about board states, even though they exist. So some of it I feel like might be just not suited here, but at the same time, something could be done easily, very easily. You can talk about the strengths of decks that you've seen in tournaments or in this tournament so far, what is doing well, what is not doing well, things like that. And that would mostly be covered by like commentators from the cast and possibly specialists that you bring in for that. So that is one avenue they could definitely go down, and it would probably give them great production value. Or they could just go to another match.
It's watching more Hearthstone, I guess, is always better, right? In this case.
Oh yeah, yeah, because people are like ADHD when it comes to Twitch for some odd reason.
Okay, so to wrap this topic up, purely hypothetical guessing question: do you guys think this will be won by a established pro player or by a new up and comer? Let's start with the Skim, Chiv, Nomlix chain of succession.
This year's the year of the no names, so I gotta go with a no name that's gonna, or
So
well, not an established player anyway.
so that's just like what the standard is for 2015 now. Then.
Yes, yes. This con is also gonna be won by a non-established player.
So you heard it here first, at the Innervated. So Chiv, what about you?
Well, I flipped the coin and the coin said tails, so no name.
Okay, Nomlix.
That's about as best choosing policy when it comes to Hearthstone as anything else.
I feel like it's not going to be one of the huge names like Colento or Strifepro, but one of those mid-tier players who are already in the scene for a long time but didn't have their great breakout performance like just people like Ostkaka or something in Seed Story. I think a player like that has the potential to take this.
Yeah, actually have to agree with you myself. I think it will be like the Ostkakas, the Aleshes, the Airbrushes, the veterans of 2014 that didn't really get any televised time or much televised time in last year, but now they're trying to break out now that they're given more chances to qualify for big tournaments. So, okay, moving on to more tournament topics, we had Gfinity Spring 2 happening this weekend. And now we can dance around it all we want, but we have to start there that Gfinity 1 wasn't the best event ever made. I'm not sure how many of you saw it, but it had terrible opening day, 7-hour delay, then stream issues, sound issues, glitch issues, overlay issues, basically every kind of technical difficulty you can imagine. I think 2/3 of the games were played off stream, like in small dark rooms. My former colleague Callum Leslie was on site and he was reporting. He was one of the few people who actually know what was happening because there were no updates coming from Gfinity as well. So this was kind of a disastrous event, even though they fixed the next days. They upped the production quality, and overall it finished on a good note. There was still a bitter aftertaste of the opening day, I feel. But Gfinity Spring 2 also didn't start really well. They had delays on opening day, so I was like, oh shit, now here it comes again, another, maybe a bad Gfinity or super Gfinity event. But in the end, it kind of turned out amazing. I saw some great production value. I saw some great analysis from the analyst desk. I saw some great casting, saw some great games, saw some interesting decks, and overall, I'm kind of hyped to have been watching this event. What do you guys think? What are your impressions?
I think you just like looking at Lothar and his ripped muscles.
Yes, I am so no homo for Lothar though. Yeah. Yes. Uh, yeah. Whatever. And Froller is sexy too, man, or whatever. Amaz, Trump, all these guys. Skim, you were very good at the caster table. You look like you looked a bit slimmer, but still.
Yeah, I put on a suit and that slims me down.
Uh,
So yeah.
So, anyways, like I know Skim didn't see much from Gfinity, so no, I know you saw all of it because you had to cover it. let's
Yes, I
start.
did.
Let's start with you. So, we are going to talk about the Dark Whispers Druid towards the end, but let's start with the other fun stuff. What else did you see that you actually liked at Gfinity?
Well, if you compare it to the first one, it was really awesome. The first one was kind of bad production-wise. They had so many problems, and it it also was the first Gfinity event there. So many people, I often heard that the Hearthstone Gfinity 1 was just a test run for the CS:GO tournament the week after. So, and that was also what it really felt like. But after all, they improved a lot. I loved the analysis desk after all the games because many plays you don't have the time to discuss them perfectly within the game itself because the one turn is never enough to evaluate the real best play. So I really liked the analysis desk. Then also overall it was easy to watch for me as a coverage guy. Like we were able to, the breaks weren't too long, and it just felt like a so much better event than the first one.
The analysis desk is, I think the Gfinity is one of the first tournaments that actually put it on display so much. We've seen analysis desks in the past, but I think they took a more minor role, like kind of a blend between casting and analysis. But here we just had two separate areas, one for casters, one for analysis, and this is something that has been a thing in other esports like Dota, League of Legends, StarCraft 2, that they're all doing it just because it's the right way to do. In the game, you talk about what's happening on the screen, and then you bring it post game to the analysis desk to actually discuss the intricacies of the game. And I think actually this offers a lot more depth to the game, and it's fantastic content to fill actually the gaps between other games. Chief, what do you think? Like, how do you like Gfinity, if you did?
I actually, I liked it. I only got to see the last day of it, and I had to watch what I recorded while I was out with my girlfriend. And then I came back, and unfortunately, I already knew the ending of it, which kind of bummed me out. But then I went back and I started looking at all the stats of it, and I noticed that there was something kind of interesting in this tournament. All right, so we had 8 invited. You had 8 qualified players. Of those qualified players, 3 of them made it through, defeating like a lot of pretty standardized, people that we expect some good stuff out of, like Orange, Faramir. They got bounced out, and then you get to the quarterfinals, they all basically kicked ass,
Yeah.
just knocking people out, and it was kind of amazing. But unfortunately, a world champion is a world champion for a reason. So, and you got to give up to Firebat. You really do.
Yeah. Well, Airbrushed actually, who's in the chat right now and chatting with the people, he gave Firebat a good run for his money. Almost beat him. Like it went to 5 games. I think in the playoffs he was the only player that created so much trouble for Firebat. I mean, then the Firebat went on to win the semis 3-1, the finals 3-0. It wasn't even close in those series. But the Airbrush, man, like I was okay, who you didn't know who's going to win until like the very last turns of the very last game. So this was some great, start of the playoffs for me.
Yeah, I think some teams should start looking at him possibly.
But
Just saying. Just saying.
but oh god. So Darkstar is going to lose another player now. Jesus. That they're not going to have many players after this podcast. But definitely, I've known Airbrush like since the old Coastal Cup Europe days. Like he's been kicking ass in them since for as long as I can remember. I also met him at DreamHack Bucharest. Really nice guy, really talented player. And he said that he really didn't practice that much for Gfinity. Uh, I think like yeah. So kudos to him for actually doing so well. Like top eight. And only losing to the champion, I think this is applaudable. But obviously, Airbrush did well. What other guys impressed you, Chief? Besides him, like we saw, IB Dutch Boy. I think did very well. Kroba did very well. But yeah, just want to hear your thoughts on this.
I was kind of impressed with what's his name, the Greek Kroba.
Yep.
I liked what he did. I liked his play choices in there. It didn't end up working for him, but you know what? It was good. It was really good. So I think that's another one of these guys. You don't really hear too much of, but he has some talent, and I'd like to see what else we could get from him. And again, with more tournaments going to these open qualifiers, and we might actually see more from him. So I can't wait to see this. It'll be amazing.
Nomlux, who did you really love watching then?
Well, I felt impressed by IB Dutch Boy because this guy is 15, if I recall correctly, or something. That's sick. He's so young. He has so much potential to go even further because he's still so young. And like that was something what really impressed me. And of course, Kroba with his kind of strange decks and stuff. And he still went down and got to the final. And
Yeah.
he himself said he isn't that there to try hard, and he's just there to have fun, and still get to the final with decks like that. It was just nice to watch.
Yeah. Speaking of, like, he actually brought Dark Whispers for in a Druid deck for those who didn't see it, and I got to learn who told him to put Dark Whispers in the deck. It was Logan from Reviews Gaming, who is like the top Greek player, and he's a good buddy of mine. And he says, yeah, this was an insane idea, so I gave it to him. And he says that he is bringing even more weird shit to DreamHack Bucharest now. I know what's coming, but I'm not gonna say. But you can expect great stuff from Logan, because he's crazy, man. He builds decks like nobody else, and he knows his druid. So really didn't like it was a fun fact to know, but ultimately I'm not really surprised to know that this kind of weird thinking comes from Logan.
Yeah, Logan's like the Greek Forsen.
Yeah. Yes, exact. Oh Jesus, I've been searching for this analogy for days now. Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, Forsen came up with some crazy stuff. It was like, no, that'll never work. And then, he just beat the crap out of all of us in a tournament. It was hilarious. So, yeah, Logan's got skills too. So, don't ever count him out.
Yeah. I guess now we have to wait for Gfinity Spring 3 then. And so they should actually just do it 4-man, like Firebat and 3 qualified players, because that always seems to be the case right now. And then just give Firebat the trophy and we can be done in like 15 minutes. That would be swell. Like it will save us a lot of work hours of coverage. But then moving on from Gfinity, still I forget to change the topics. I'm so stupid. The main topic of today I want to talk to you guys about is long-running leagues in Hearthstone. Do not forget. So long-running leagues have been very common in other esports, particularly in StarCraft 2 and League of Legends. Their idea is to run for, let's say, 3 or 4 months over the course like a regular season, then playoffs, and you have the same teams or players rotating. Obviously League of Legends is the more established one, I guess. The WCS for StarCraft 2 is more dynamic, where you have eliminations on a more regular basis. But still, it's kind of a season that runs over several months, and people have starting to bring this to Hearthstone as well. We'll talk about two of the main culprits, I guess. Not sure if that's the gentle word, but actually, this already happened, on a 10 for long-running league in Hearthstone with Gentleman Cup in 2000. Wow, yeah, I see your face, Chiv, and yeah. So the Gentleman Cup was a team league organized by Take TV that had the enormous ambition of, going for 12 weeks, have teams with their players who are competing like 2 or 3 times a week or something like this, and ultimately this crashed and burned as everybody expected because the scene wasn't stable at all. People were retiring, people were switching teams. Teams were, it was kind of a horrible league management. The admin of the tournament was actually involved in one of the teams that was participating in the tournament. Me and Nomix actually did investigation at this point when VVV were almost disqualified. We kind of helped sort this out. But we already had one terribly unsuccessful attempt at a long-running league. And that was that for some time. And now we see 2 organizers trying to, at least not have it a team league, but as individual players. We have the Kinguin Pro League that's running twice a week. They're going to stream on Tuesdays and Wednesdays now. And there's also the NVIDIA Pro Amateur Tournament that has its own professional division with 16 players, which also have, play a couple of days a week. I'm not sure even when, because their broadcast schedule is so terrible. You never know when's happening what. So let's start with this question, like, is Hearthstone still too unstable for such leagues, or do you think that now is the time that people can start experimenting with them and trying to make it work, because they have proven after all that they're a very successful format in League of Legends. But in Hearthstone we've seen a lot of problems with both leagues. We've seen schedule changes. We've seen players not able to make their matches and whatnot. So it's far from perfect. That's not really something I'm going to argue. But overall, is this a good time to start, trying to make these leagues work? Skim?
I'm in general very skeptical towards long-running leagues. Coming from Dota, I think long-running leagues have a big and huge flaw that their league play is usually not as interesting, because you don't really see the immediate connection towards the end goal. Like, if I watch LAN finals, if I watch a LAN tournament, I immediately know, okay, this win is very important, because then he places first in the group, and then he faces him in the in the playoffs, or he gets eliminated, or whatever. But in a long-running league, you usually just watch a game and you don't really know, okay, how does this actually affect the league standing? And especially if it's multiple weeks, and you're just like, oh, okay, he just won against him, and a few weeks later you don't really remember it, because it was just some random game 2 weeks ago that may or may not have had effect on the outcome of the tournament. And I think for Hearthstone especially, this is actually not good, because I feel like a lot of the flair and love around Hearthstone is the fact that you have a bit of personality behind the game. You usually don't watch Hearthstone just because somebody is good. You want to watch Hearthstone because you like the personality, you like the people doing it, you like the casters, you like the people that are playing in it. And I mean, Kinguin is doing well. I think they get decent view numbers, but I am fairly certain that they still get not crushed, but they still get overshadowed by just popular streamers. Because let's face it, like it's just a league game that, again, you don't really know where this is going. Like, okay, Savitz just beat Colento or whatever. It doesn't really matter too much, because in 2 weeks they're just gonna either play again, or you're gonna have a different matchup with the same people involved. And the tournament is still not ending, so you don't really care too much, you know?
Yeah, I guess so. But basically, the effect of the match, the result of the match doesn't have an immediate effect, so it becomes like a series of show matches, right?
Yeah. I guess, yeah.
You guys, Chiv?
I look at the leagues out there. All I keep thinking is, wow, they took what could have been done in a 2-day tournament and stretched it out over 12 weeks. And yeah, okay. I looked at the NVIDIA league. That one, I actually think they are kind of doing a couple things right. Like Skim was talking about, you don't know where there's an investment in there. Yeah, because if they're going to this story and this story and this story, but then, looking at the stats to see where things are, they actually have a very detailed stat page. I mean, it's extremely detailed for like almost the most obscure thing you want to look up. It's there. And then you look at the rules section. I've written rules for tournaments before, but this thing actually blew me away. I've never seen a rule sheet that had multiple pages. It was just amazing to me how much detail and thought they actually put into this. But I kind of feel right now, the way they're doing it, this is not the right approach you have to do for a league play, because there's no investment between, watching it and your viewer base actually wanting to feel something. It's not like, watching a regular sports program. It's like, all right, well, if they win these next 2 games, they're in the pennant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, you're not going to get that here. You're not going to get that at all. And I just, it's a great idea, but I don't think it's going to work, to be perfectly honest.
Do you think that it's not going to work at all, ever, or just at this point until they figure out how they should broadcast and how they should fill their downtime between play days?
I think that they need to go back to the drawing board on it a little bit more before that this can be viable. It has possibilities of being viable, but right now in its current form, it's suffering, and I don't think it's really going to. I don't think it's going to incentivize anybody to want to keep doing it, to be perfectly honest. Not to mention, like you guys were talking about, conflicts in schedules with like some of the named players. And let's be honest, if they're competing for like, what is it, 20K in the NVIDIA, or they could go to one tournament and possibly win that as well. Which one are you going to do? 12 weeks worth of work or 1 day's worth of work?
Yeah.
I'm going to go for the 1 day's worth of work.
You actually bring up something interesting, because part of the reason why KPL was scheduled from Thursday to Wednesday is because BlackRock Mountain is getting released on Thursday. And it doesn't really have anything to do with server issues or new cards coming out. It's people just want to watch the popular streamers play BlackRock Mountain Wings. And it's not really a secret, but if you compare numbers on Tuesday on BlackRock Mountain Thursday, you would get like 30 or 40K or whatever on Tuesday, which is good, and then it will drop to 10K, maybe even lower on Thursdays, because people just, these guys, there are a few games here, but then there are more games next week, so I'm not really losing anything. I would rather watch a mouse play Nefarian or whatever, I'm building decks and try to race for BlackRock Mountain, etc. So it's already, a battle against the streamers, because the streamers, I think, like, if I was a streamer and getting so much money per day for just showing my face and playing decks, I wouldn't prioritize any KPL match or any NVIDIA match ever for the life of me. Like, I would spare maybe a few days to go play a 3-day invitational, because, the investment is smaller. Because, I mean, if I do well, I will win money for 3 days. Sure, it may be less than what I do from streaming, and if I don't, I'm out in the first day and I go back to streaming, I make the same money. But for KPL or NVIDIA, whatever, you need to invest so much time to actually gain something back, as you said, Jeff. And a part of this is partly the reason why people are rescheduling their matches. I mean, I gave example as KPL. Streamers are saying, well, let's just not play this now and cancel a match. I just want to play BlackRock Mountain. And I think this is, a reason that will really never go away until Hearthstone, hypothetically, stops being a streaming focused esports or even game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. The one thing they could do with these leagues is, as we've been talking about, a lot of the up-and-coming players, the amateurs, the people that nobody knows about. You could actually use these leagues as a way of showcasing this very nicely and getting these guys more of a spotlight. And if the league's focused on that more and less so much on, hey, let's get this Amaz and this Dimsh and this Reynad, you might actually have something special there, because then you're actually focusing to a specific target audience rather than just trying to have this broad spectrum. And I think that might actually give it a little bit of an advantage. But they're really going to have to go back and fix the entire way they're laying it out.
Nomax, we kind of left you out of the conversation, but what do you think about the entire case of long-running leagues in Hearthstone?
Like, the problems with the first long-running league we had are kind of cancelled out by, like, teams not being established, players maybe not committing to such a long-running league. Like, the players you invite now to such a league like that are willing to commit, most likely. So, like, the problems the first one had are kind of done. Now the question is still, like, the other guys already bring up, like, is it the good format to play in such a long-running league in Hearthstone? If we compare it to other esports like League of Legends, there is a lot of preparation. If you go into a week, like, you prepare for a certain team, and in Hearthstone,
well, in KPL they kind of do it. Like, they know the match in advance, so they prepare against certain player as well.
But especially now, it's in the middle of Blackrock Mountain, and you can't predict a team or a player here in Hearthstone as much as you can in other stuff, and like that takes the special thing kind of out of it. So there's nothing special at running the long-term league instead of a normal tournament. There's no advantage in it for the players, and the view numbers also fall down, as the other people already said, and so that's the main problem at the moment, in my opinion.
In my eyes, I think the main problem, and where both leagues kind of miss out, is they cannot really narrate their stories. Chief already said it's all about storylines when we were talking about DreamHack Summer and the Swiss, and for me, actually, as a journalist, as a writer, storylines are what matter to me the most. I don't care about results. I don't care about numbers. I care about seeing a great story develop. And neither KPL nor Nvidia are actually having any production or video content or whatever like that narrates the storylines. And I'm actually saying this, and I actually work for KPL on a freelance basis. So imagine me saying this as one of their kind of employees, and it's like as you guys said, I don't feel there's any that each play day is special, and you should absolutely feel like each play day is special. Back when I was watching League of Legends, I knew, okay, today we have these 4 matches. Not all of them will going to be great, but there will be one match that I'm just excited to tune and watch, because it has a major effect on the standings. Let's say SK are playing Fnatic in the EU LCS, and whoever wins breaks the other team's flawless record and climbs on top of the rankings. These are kind of storylines that I actually want to see narrated before the week begins. KPL are trying to do stuff like this with KPL Insight, which I am Callum Leslie is co-hosting with me on Fridays. But I actually think that this should be done on Mondays to prepare the viewers for the Tuesday and the Thursday match. Like, hey guys, this is some awesome content coming on Tuesday. Renat is playing Kamaz. Tune in. There will be like 50k people watching if they know this amazing stuff is coming. And I feel that ultimately, I know that both Nvidia and KPL have the good intentions of trying this new thing, and I know this is their first try at this. Nobody has really done this. So it kind of feels I kind of feel almost guilty that I'm bashing on them, because it's a bold move, but so many things could have been done better to just narrate the stories to the viewership, and make the audience care about your matches, and not just turn your entire circuit into a series of exhibition games. Like, it's not 2013 anymore. We don't need King of the Hill kind of entertainment. We're way past this. We need to make every match feel special in my eyes.
I mean, yeah, we've talked a lot about the negative side of things of these long-running leagues, but at the same time, there's also a big upside, in my opinion, about these leagues. I mean, when I'm sitting there on a Tuesday evening, I don't really know what to do, I'm really bored or anything. I just know that there's something I can tune into, because I know, okay, every Tuesday, I don't know, I think it's Tuesday to Thursday,
Yeah.
whatever. It's like, yeah, I could just tune into KPL and just watch this, or I can just I can expect a certain amount of value from tuning into KPL because there's always this very steady production, and they always have some sort of exciting matchup. I mean, there are big names after all involved in this, so you can always expect a certain amount of value when you're tuning into that. So I think in that regard, I think KPL is filling a niche where they just provide constant content of a certain quality. But yeah, I mean, what we've said thus far still is true. I think just in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of not interesting to follow the tournament on a larger scale. I mean, watching the matches just one by one, sure, it's just like, oh, exciting, Reynard versus Maz. Oh, we have Savitz playing, I don't know, I have no idea actually right now, but Strafko, let's go with Strafko. Yeah, we have them playing off against another, but yeah, on the grand scheme of things, it's kind of no storyline.
Okay, because the chat says we need more WCS-like events. So WCS, for the guys who don't know, it's StarCraft does it, and in each stage, players fall down to the lower league, and they give a chance for the lower tier players to climb up. So you have a constant rotation of names. Actually, Hearthstats League wanted to do something like this. The 2015 event they had earlier had this idea, but they didn't really follow up. So it kind of loses the good intention of establishing a tier league. Do you guys think that this is more feasible of a concept rather than just a 3-month long league that sees eliminations only at the end of the regular season? Basically,
I think it's viable. It is actually viable, but again, risk reward system here. That reward better be something worth fighting for. All right, and the other thing is having this big reward at the end of the payday kind of thing. I think is kind of you got to give them something for the effort, yeah. But what I've seen for the reward for this much amount of time in, I don't see the worth, and I think a lot of the people who watch this also don't really think it's worthwhile, So that's kind of something there that maybe has to be examined, but you really are not going to be able to build it unless you get more people interested in it in order to build that prize pool even more. But I really feel like the risk reward is just not there right now to have that kind of system.
Do you think they should be more entangled in, let's say, the race for BlizzCon or whatever? Just be able to gain and bank points at a more rapid state?
Yeah, actually, that would be a really cool thing, but you definitely have to get some sort of weird endorsement from Blizzard on that. But it'd be kind of a cool thing. Participate in the league, get some points. Yeah, people do that all day long. They do it all day long because then they know at the end of the tunnel they have a chance for that big 100K. So, yeah.
I mean, this is why StarCraft players play WCS in the end, right? It's not because they're winning so much money that they don't really know what to do with them. It's the valuable World Championship points, and now they get to go to the Grand Finals and actually compete for big money, like 100K or whatever is the prize pool for the StarCraft tournament. Yeah, I think you're definitely right. If you tie these leagues with immediate rewards, BlizzCon wise, like points or something like this, I think it will make them a more interesting prospect for players to actually try them. Nomix, what do you think ultimately before we wrap this up?
Like overall, I feel like these leagues are missing the hype factor I have for a tournament. Like if there's Seed Story Cup as a house cup or Via game upcoming, I'm hyped for it. I really want to watch it. I'm waiting until they start. I'm watching the countdown on the show, and just that's missing on the Team League. Like, I tune in to KPL, oh, another match, yeah. Just watching it like that without any immediate thing happening there, like any immediate result, which the other guys already said. Like, that's what I'm missing at these leagues at the moment. Like, if they could hype the matchups of the week even further, it might get better and might be more enjoyable to watch from my side.
Let me throw another question. Like I said, we're gonna wrap this up with I light, much like Kit Kat. Do you guys think if they switch from, let's say, individual players format to a more team league oriented style, kind of like Gentleman Cup try to do, but better? Maybe something like NEL, but for the Western teams, like for Europe and North America, and they still make it run for a couple of months, just like basically like NEL does in China. Do you think this will be more interesting, even if it's not, let's say, tied to BlizzCon points or big prize pools? Because I personally would want to watch that because we really lack team leagues, and I really want to see rivalries between organizations develop. And we've seen in the past that team leagues are actually a great way to promote up and coming talent. If you look at StarCraft, for example, where team leagues are big in Korea, and with things like GSTL way in the past, and with the Caspa Pro League, you don't necessarily always see the big names taking part, and as it is in Hearthstone now, but you also see new talent that's not really televised, that are actually carrying their teams to victory. And this brings exposure, this brings invitation to more individual tournaments, and basically creates a chain reaction effect for up and coming talent to maybe make their names. What do you guys think?
I think if you go team based, I mean, you're definitely going to have to put on a really good production here. Think like Fight Night, just without all the shenanigans, and
with actual prize money.
Yes, with actual prize money that gets delivered, and staff that gets paid, and not associated with the crime syndicate. So
you're asking
yeah,
too
I mean,
much.
oh, I know, always. But I mean, yeah, it's doable. It really is doable. And the only problem I see with actual teams like that is contractual obligations with, like if it's a pro level player, he may not be able to team up with another person in a rivalry team and things of that nature because of contracts. And I mean, you're going to have to find a workaround for that. I have one. I'm not at liberty to discuss it, but I have one. So yeah, there's definitely ways you can work it. And I think in that aspect, if you make your league kind of like that, then you can actually drive story, you could drive interest, you could drive people wanting to watch this, and you could to make 1,001 jokes on ESGN.
That's kind of the bonus prize that I think we all share.
Oh God, yes. Oh God, yes.
Sorry.
But let's give it up, ESGN. Thank you for Frodan.
Yes, thank you for going bankrupt and letting Frodan free, and now he gets to actually cast and do some nice stuff.
He plays in the occasional tournament. Come on.
Yeah, yeah, he does amazingly in the occasional tournament. Oh God. Skim, what do you think about, like, if we switch to individual long-running leagues to team leagues? Would this be the hype that glues you to the stream, every week?
I don't know. I think there was this Chinese tournament where Tempo Storm was attending with Dog. That was kind of fun, but I think it was only fun because it was actually just Tempo Storm kind of commentating on themselves, basically. So I think it always just depends on how you run it, but overall I think it would just be better just because the dynamic would be better between you'd always have well, I guess it sort of depends. Like, if it's online, I don't think it actually makes a difference because it's still just going to be show match after show match after show match, I think. But if it was on LAN, like ESGN or as this Chinese thing, I think that could be great. But then again, it's just every LAN event in Hearthstone is better than any online event, so I guess it doesn't really compare that well.
Unless it's
So
WCA. Unless it's WCA.
WCA,
Well, I
oh
had
my
to
God.
try it. You're
Yeah,
just saying wrong stuff.
yeah, that's
not
true.
all
That's
events.
true.
Not all
And
events.
WEC was also pretty bad. So
Well, you were
um,
there, so you would know.
yeah, it was pretty bad. So yeah, I guess okay. I don't think if we had a team league, it would be that much better. And I'm not even sure if we would have enough teams to compete in. I mean, there's a lot of teams where there's like just 3 people, but then we have teams where there's like 5 people. So I don't know. Would that work out? Do we have enough teams? I guess.
We have plenty of teams. I mean, not all are known, or send players to invitationals or get invites or whatever. But there are plenty of teams. I mean, France has strong teams like Millennium. Greece has strong teams like even these small. UK used to have Infuse, but no more. But there are a lot of teams actually who would be up for Croatia. Who's in Croatia? Chiv is saying Team Tesla. Are you fucking trolling me now? Jesus, it's laughing.
Of course I am.
I'm laughing like a maniac. I wouldn't know like Tesla. It seems legit. Nah, I would love my team to be called Tesla.
Actually, that's the player's name, not a team. But it would be a great name, though, for a team.
Yeah, somebody make it happen.
Yeah, you just got to pay the copyright to a motor company, but sure, why not?
I think it won't be really expensive, I guess. Anyway, so to wrap it up, guys, any final words on any topic, anything you want to share, any jokes you want to make on ESGN, WCA, Lothar's muscles, anything? Skim, let's start with you.
I miss Fight Night. Now that we mention it again, it was amazing.
Is this like sincere or sarcasm? Because I can't.
It's sincere. Honestly, I think Fight Night was awesome, dude. I mean, disregarding all the shit that went down, I think it was. I mean, I think without Fight Night, I'm not sure if Hearthstone would have been able to make the big progression it did early last year. Was it? Oh my god, it feels like it was 3 years ago.
It was January to March, I think. Like.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure if the Hearthstone scene would have had made such a big progression if it hasn't been for Fight Night. So at least in that time frame. So I think Fight Night was cool. Like the format itself is also pretty cool. But it's obviously not as profitable sending out teams just week by week. I mean, that's why ESGN went bankrupt, right? Because they spend shit ton of money.
That's another reason.
But yeah, I think it was cool, and it gave us Frodan, so I'm kind of happy about it.
Well, if you actually followed StarCraft 2, Frodan has been there for
Oh
a
yeah,
while.
I know. But,
So-
he was kind of established as the Hearthstone caster, sort of. So, I think we can all look at Fight Night and say at least we got something out of it.
Yeah.
Also, chicks with like signs and half naked and stuff. So,
Really, like, okay. I mean, it's open mic, so you can say whatever you want.
it was super awkward.
Yeah, it was super fucking
It was
awkward,
super
wasn't
awkward. It was, oh my god.
it? It was.
It's like, I guess the best translation is like there's a German word for that, and it's about being embarrassed by other people. I guess the best translation is like cringing.
It's
but,
called vicarious shame in English.
Oh, okay.
You illiterate.
Damn it.
And they call me third world Jesus.
I mean, have you listened to your English?
Yeah. No.
Anyway, I'm out.
I don't listen to this podcast. It's shit. Anyways, Chiv, final words then.
All right. Dr. Boom walks into a bar. He asks, "Where's the counter?"
Oh, this is an old joke. It's not even a good one.
I know, but still,
I'm
it's
giving you
still
another.
relevant.
I'm giving you another chance to make up for this bad joke.
Oh my God!
But
Jesus
not
Christ.
with another bad joke, if you could.
So you were supposed to get a pizza because you said you were going to guzzle it that hot gooey pizza down on stream.
Well, I think you're just making up words now. I never said gooey, but yeah, I should have.
You said I could guzzle that hot thing down, and
Yeah.
all I kept thinking was, "Wow, How many jokes can we make off this?
You know that maybe there are kids listening to this, so let's not make
That's why I didn't continue
yeah
on with it.
let's not make 90% of the jokes. Actually, my friends are listening. They will make the jokes. Um,
Yes, there's a chat there.
yeah,
Write them down.
yeah, right about genitalia. Probably. I'm just assuming it's genitalia jokes. It's uh,
You guys have more jokes than I've ever seen. You're like
oh
vipers.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Ghost Gamers is known for penis jokes. Basically, we just. I almost said we feed on this, but it's going to be awkward. Um, anyways, Nomlik's final words. Please not be a bad joke or pizza guzzling. Try to be more intelligent than us.
Like as Kim already said, Fight Night was awesome, and it made like for the some of the most cringe Trump moments standing in between those two chicks, those ESGN girls, which makes like just an insane picture, and that's like stuff you remember from Hearthstone. And I also feel like Fight Night was just awesome.
This is I never ever started any show or any article that ends with Fight Night was awesome, spoken by two people. I think this is the first instance that has ever happened to me. But I guess this is it. The moral of the story is ESGN was awesome. Uh, yeah, okay, we'll call it awesome. But yeah, this is all from the show, guys, and from us. Tune in to Gosu TV for next Monday as well, 9 o'clock CET. Um, there will be more of us talking about more stupid stuff and making fun of each other and other people. Um, I don't know which will be the host next week because I'm not sure if I will murder Storex if I fight him. So if I do, it will be Nomlix again because he's doing a really good job subbing in for this ungrateful German guy. Wow, German. What is up with you Germans? So I'm not serious. But yeah, tune in to the channel next Monday. We'll be bringing you more content, and the podcast will be available on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes. You'll find the links on ghostgamers.net as soon as I upload all this stuff. You can always hop on the Twitch channel and just watch the past broadcast. It will all be there immediately after the show. But thanks for all the guys who tuned in today. We had some pro players in the chat, listening to us ramble. So yeah, I mean, until next week, and see you later.